Okay, so this is Figurative Language Day 2. You had a lot of practice yesterday. We talked about what a lot of the different types of figurative language mean. Let's practice. Our lesson goals for today are I will be able to identify a figurative language in a text when I read, and I will analyze how figurative language is used. But first, let's review. Alliteration is when an author or poet repeats the beginning sound of a word. While I nodded, nearly napping. N, that's alliteration. Hyperbole is an extreme exaggeration to make a point about the size of something. So he ate a mountain of food. An idiom is a word or phrase that has like a cultural meaning, but we're not supposed to take it literally. She's driving me up the wall. Imagery is descriptive language that appeals to our five senses. Irony is the use of words that have an opposite meaning, and that opposite meaning tells us something. So she's as friendly as a rattlesnake. Metaphor is a comparison between unlike things, not using the words like or as. Onomatopoeia is a sound word. Clash, clang, roar. An oxymoron is the side-by-side placement. So you see them side by side of apparently contradictory. Remember, contradictory means opposite. So the side-by-side placement of apparently contradictory or opposite terms. Walking dead, the dead should not walk. So those are opposite, but they have a special meaning when you put them together. Jumbo shrimp, those two words are opposite, but they mean something when you put them together. Personification is when we give an animal or a non-human object human attributes. A simile is a comparison between two unlike things using like or as. As sly as a fox, so he's as clever as a fox is in mythology or folktales. And a symbol is something that's used to represent something else. So a dove is a symbol of peace. A lion is a symbol of courage. A red rose is a symbol of romance. Okay, you think you got that? Let's practice. On the left, I have 5 examples of figurative language. On the right, I have different names of the figurative language. Can you match each name to its example? Pause this video, think it through. When you're ready to move on, unpause. Okay, you ready? Let's look. Number 1, someone complains that people spend too much time on social media through a Facebook post. So they're complaining that people spend too much time on Facebook, but they're on Facebook when they're complaining. That is an example of, well, onomatopoeia is a sound word. Metaphor is a comparison, not using the words like or as. Oxymoron is 2 words next to each other that have opposite meanings. Simile is comparing 2 things using like or as. Irony is like the opposite of what we would expect. So, irony, that's not very looking. Irony is going to be number 1. We told him to act naturally. If you're acting, you're not being natural. Well, an onomatopoeia is a sound word. A metaphor is a comparison not using like or as. An oxymoron is when we have 2 opposite words together next to each other, but they have their own special meaning. So act naturally, that is an oxymoron, because if you're acting, you're not being natural. Her heels clacked on the hardwood floor. Onomatopoeia is a sound word, so that's going to be onomatopoeia. Clacked on the hardwood floor. That book was as dull as dishwater. So I'm comparing the book to the dishwater. If I'm comparing these 2 things, I need to look. Am I using a like or an as? I am. So that means this is going to be a simile, because a simile is when we compare two things using like or as. Her long hair was a flowing golden river. Well, her hair can't literally be a river, so we're comparing her hair to a river, but we don't have the word like or the word as, so that's going to make this a metaphor. You ready to try another one? Okay. Read these to yourself. Pause the video, and when you're ready, move on. The lion on the knight's armor showed that she was brave. Our answer choices are hyperbole, which is an extreme exaggeration, symbol, which is when one object represents something else, personification, which is when we give a non-human object human qualities, and an idiom, which is like an expression that means it doesn't mean what it says literally. So if I say the lion on the knight's armor showed that she was brave, lions are a symbol of bravery. The little dog laughed to see such fun. The little dog laughed. Dogs don't laugh. They're not humans. Only humans laugh. So this is going to be personification, because we're treating the dog like a person. Personification. Call it a day. Call it a day is an idiom. It means that we're going to finish up for now. We're going to wrap it up. We're going to leave for the day. But what it actually says is we're going to name something a day. We're going to call it that. Okay, your brain is the size of a pea. You would not be alive if your brain was actually the size of a pea. So that's a hyperbole. Okay, you think you got it? Log into Canvas, do the Nearpod. Take your time, the Nearpod will be a grade, and it's also practice for the figurative language test you will have next week.